Hey guys, so yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of these. I'm in a car waiting for my daughter. She's doing a science class at the moment, and I've got to sit in the car for an hour. So that's fun. So you might hear some cars going past in the background. You might hear some funky noises, but I figured, rather than wasting this time doing nothing, reading books and looking at news, I might as well chat and talk about some stuff. So it's not going to be anything in particular that we're going to talk about. I think we're just going to do an overall discussion. Whatever comes to my mind, we'll talk through it. Because it has been a while since we've done one of these, and a lot has changed. I think the last time I did one of these, Bitcoin was sitting near local highs, which was around, it was sitting around that resistance around 30k. We'd already had that big move off the bottom, and since then quite a few things have changed, and the landscape is shifting a little bit, and there's a weird kind of juxtaposition going on between crypto and the larger global economy at the moment. That's just kind of how I'm seeing it. So yeah, we'll get into it. Might be a bit of a ramble, so apologies. If you have never listened to one of these before, it's a ramble. If you have, then you know what's coming. So yeah, it seems like, when you look at the larger global economy at the moment, things don't look good. But within crypto, there's a weird kind of narrative building, and there's a few different paths that kind of veer off from that narrative that I can see. Like, really apologise if the cars are too noisy in the background. I have to have the windows open a little bit because it's roasting in the car. So, yeah, apologies for that. So, yeah, like we said, global economy looks pretty shit. Let's go through the points. The fastest, most aggressive rate hike in history. Going from pretty much zero rates to over 5% in the US. Rest of the world have been catching up. With a pause at the moment from the Fed, but there's still a few rate hikes left in them if it's to be believed from people speculating where they're going to go. I tend to believe that there is probably going to be a few left in them. Looks like inflation's ticking up a little bit more. Oil prices are on the rise again. Saudi Arabia are they need some higher prices, so it looks like the price is going a little bit higher at the moment, and energy and oil is ticking up those inflation numbers once again. And I do think it's kind of weird at the moment because you're seeing like a lot of the countries around the world signaling, we're either going to pause, we're either going to stop, but no one's even close to their target right now. Like headline inflation has come down in the US, but core inflation is super sticky, and it has been sticky for a long time. Like they're over double what they should be. They want 2% inflation target. They're not near that at the moment in the US. So, you look at all the other countries around the world, they're already starting to pivot, or, at least pause. They're pausing, and then some countries are even starting to signal cuts. But no one's near their target, which is, in my opinion, dangerous. No one's effectively beaten this inflation fight yet. And they're already starting to pivot, which is a worry. So then people tend to think, well, will the Fed do the same? And the Fed have been very, very vocal on their stance that they're not going to budge until inflation's back down to 2%. Now, you could argue, okay, well, they could get to 3% and say, okay, that's good enough. It's not good enough because they have a credibility problem as well, the Fed. So the Fed need to get inflation down to 2%. They have communicated that again and again. We will not stop until the fight is done, and they'll do whatever it takes. And I genuinely believe that will be the case unless something bad breaks in the economy. And at the moment, the economy has shown, you can see it in the stock market, you can see it in the unemployment numbers, you can see it across the board. There's been signs, but the economy can kind of handle these rates at the moment. But this comes on to our next point, and that's most aggressive rate hikes in history, but this comes with lags. This isn't instant. It takes a long time for those interest rate hikes to work their way through the economy. And now, even Jerome Powell said it the other day, we've not seen the effects of those rate hikes yet. So if they've done that most aggressive hiking cycle, but those rate hikes haven't even been felt by the economy properly, what's coming? You know, I tend to believe that there's going to be some pretty serious lags that are going to hit this economy pretty hard. And in the US, it's going to have a knock-on effect elsewhere. So from that point of view, you know, and you're seeing the signs at the moment, you know, credit card debt is rising over $1 trillion. Bankruptcies are rising. You know, credit is tight at the moment. You know, commercial real estate looks fucking abysmal. Housing looks like it's tipping over. You know, I think in the UK, house prices have fallen at the fastest rate in 14 years. So you're seeing signs across, you know, not just the US, but the global economy. We're not even going to get onto China, because China's a whole different kettle of fish with, you know, with their real estate fucking woes at the moment. But the signs are there. And if you know, if you go by the hiking cycle, you would think that these lags are going to have a pretty impactful, having a big impact on the global economy. So shit don't look good. Let's put it simply, shit don't look good. I can only put that as eloquently as I can. Shit don't look good. But then we have motherfucking wasp. Stay outside. Sorry, there was a wasp. He was like looking at the window, and he was looking at me thinking, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to make your fucking day hard work. Anyway, fuck that wasp. So we then look at the other side of it, right? We look at crypto. We look at Bitcoin. So crypto had a fucking awful 2022. You know, we had the collapse of FTX, Celsius, Luna, pushed down to 15k. And in hindsight, like, the fact that we had one of the biggest exchanges go bust, one of the biggest projects in the space go bust, one of the biggest lending platforms in the space go bust, and Bitcoin still held 15k and even pushed up 100% since then. It's a lot of resilience. And the space as a whole, I know it kind of moves with Bitcoin, but you know, it kind of shrugged it off in a way. You know, it just felt like a normal bear market shit. So in hindsight, yeah, that's pretty impressive. But recently we've had, you know, the news around the ETFs, right? So again, we look for catalysts, and that's a pretty big catalyst. When you have BlackRock coming in on the scene and saying, look, we want a Bitcoin ETF, you know, when BlackRock come calling, they normally get what they want. They've had, I can't even remember I don't know the exact number, but it's something like they've had like 380 ETF processes, and every single one has been accepted apart from one. So when they come calling, they normally get what they want, because BlackRock, you know, essentially own the world. So you dig deep into BlackRock, it's pretty fucking scary. So they want this approval on Bitcoin on the ETF. Which signals we may be seeing that at some point. I think the final decision is around, I want to say March of 2024, which is a month before the halving. So that period there could be very, very important, right? So you've had that. You see the resilience that Bitcoin's shown. You can kind of see it in the charts in terms of, you know, I put out a tweet the other day saying, when you look at historical history, what the fuck am I talking about? When you look at the historical charts of Bitcoin, we're kind of moving in tandem with what's come before it. And I know there's a big argument around, you know, does Bitcoin move based on the halvings, or is that actually to do with global liquidity injections? And look, there's an argument to be had there. You know, if you actually go look at the money printer being turned on, it kind of coincides with the halving. Maybe that's a huge coincidence, but you could make an argument on both sides of that. What was I trying to say? I've lost my train of thought. this is where the ramble breaks down, right? Because then you have to bring it back. So yeah, so the halving 2024, following the BlackRock possible approval. And if BlackRock ETF gets approved, then they're all going to get approved. You know, Fidelity gets approved, ARK gets approved, Vanet gets approved. They all get approved. Now here's something. So that's bullish, right? So that's what I'm trying to say with the juxtaposition. You have global economy looks bearish, right? And if you was to ask me what happens with the, you know, the S&P, Nasdaq, all of that shit, Nasdaq's different because they're running on the AI hype right now, and I guess the S&P because they're kind of, you know, the big players are the tech giants, but AI has been fueling this run recently, and they're close off of all-time highs right now. I just need to check this is still recording, so I don't want to be talking and then okay, it is. That'd have been annoying. I actually did that before. I did a recording in the car like this, and yeah, I recorded it for 45 minutes and then it didn't save, and I was like, oh, you motherfucker. And I just thought, I'm not recording that again. So I just lost it. It's been lost. But so yeah, the Nasdaq's been fueling it. It's been running on an AI hype. So is the S&P really. The S&P's really been running based on the Magnificent Seven. When you look at, you know, you have Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Nvidia, Amazon, and, you know, the others. But you know, that's been largely due down to AI, and that's been dragging up the S&P. The Russell 2000 doesn't look as interesting. That's nowhere near been as impressive as the S&P and the Nasdaq. But crypto, what was I trying to say? Fuck, man, I've lost my train of thought again. This is not professional of me, is it? You bastard. Where was I? Anyway, so yeah, the Nasdaq, S&P, all that shit, looking good. But that's what I was going to say. So when you actually look at that, they've been on a hell of a run recently. But if the global economy starts really showing signs of weakness, and we start seeing that painted on the charts, then, you know, I wouldn't be surprised, this is just my personal opinion, if not only do we retest those lows around 3,200, we'll take them out, right? Just an opinion, just a guess, might be completely wrong, don't hold me to it, okay? Got no horse in that race, so it doesn't really matter to me. But I wouldn't be surprised if it takes out those lows. So then you say, well, if that's going to happen, what happens to crypto, right? Now, crypto bottomed around 15.6, I think it was. You would think that, okay, S&P takes out its lows, Nasdaq takes out its lows, local lows, by the way, not all-time lows, obviously. Crypto, Bitcoin, will take out their lows, right? And I just don't think that that will be the case. I think that 15.6 is the low. I was initially looking for that 11 to 14k pocket. There's a block that I drew on a chart. It was to do with the kind of resistance around 11.5k, and it was the monthly close at 14k candle close on Bitcoin. And there was a little block that I drew, and I was kind of aiming for that. We got down to 15.6. We didn't get as low as 11 to 14k. But I just don't think we're going to see those lows now. I think we will see a pullback on Bitcoin. But I'm of the belief that anything under 20k is an opportunity right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we get back to 20k. Then again, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin just goes on a fucking run from here. I have no idea. But I would not be surprised if we do get a retest down to at least the previous all-time highs of the last cycle, which is around 19.6, 20k. Anything under 20k is a buy opportunity, in my opinion. Especially with the news that, you know, Bitcoin ETFs are coming. Now, this brings up another dynamic, though, in my opinion. Because I'm also a little bit ill, so you might hear me sniffing. I've had man flu, which has been... Men can understand the sheer pain of what we're going through. The women won't. You won't get this, but the men will. It's awful. So I've survived. I'm not dead, but I was close, man. That man flu will get you. It'll creep up on you. but I'm still breathing, so I'm still breathing, man. So Bitcoin ETF, right? If that ETF gets approved, this brings up another dynamic. So I don't know the ins and outs of how ETFs work, right? But this is how I think it will work. So if I'm wrong, let me know, because I'm not claiming to be an expert here. This is just my uninformed opinion. Okay, I'm going to put that out there straight away, so don't moan at me. Okay, I don't know how ETFs work, but this is what I imagine happens. Okay, BlackRock get approved, which means Fidelity gets approved, which means they all get approved. These are asset managers with trillions of assets under management. Okay, which means they have clients, customers who hold assets with them. Okay, they go through them, not just retail. It's obviously huge companies who do it as well, right? So they get the approval on the ETF. That means they get the big green light, which means they can say to their customers, we have this new asset class called Bitcoin, which you can have exposure to. Alternatively, clients and customers can then say, we want exposure to Bitcoin, and we know that you now have an ETF based on that. So we want exposure. BlackRock can then say, okay, we'll give you exposure. They go to the exchange, which is wherever, Coinbase, NASDAQ, I don't know who the fuck it is, whoever is their custodian. They go to them, they buy the Bitcoin off the open market. They then take that Bitcoin, they put it under their books, they hold it in private wallets for those customers, and they don't touch them, right? That's how I imagine this is going to happen. Which means all of the, ETF approval companies will do the same thing. So that brings up an interesting dynamic to me, because in the past you would think that, these bull runs have been fueled by, especially, when Bitcoin runs, the money comes into the space, it enters crypto exchanges, the Bitcoin is held on crypto exchanges or in crypto wallets, by individuals, companies, everything like that, rich people, whales. They buy the Bitcoin, but eventually, because the money is in the space, they begin delving into other areas, right? They start buying Ethereum, they start buying Solana, they start buying Cardano, they start buying the other big top 10. Then all of a sudden, that liquidity then finds its way into the top 50, then the top 100. Start getting more leverage, more liquidity just starts spilling out into the whole space, because the money is within crypto, right? So you see Bitcoin run, then you see the rest of the space run. Liquidity is rife, is everywhere in the space, and stuff just starts going crazy, and we get the bull run, right? But the thing I can't shake at the moment is just that you're not going to have that same dynamic this time. The dynamic you're going to see, in my uninformed opinion, is you're going to see people getting exposure to Bitcoin through these asset managers who are going to take that, lock it away, on their private wallets, on their books, custodian, whatever, right? They're just going to hold it. That money is not actually, they're just going to, it's literally going to say it's Coinbase, right? They're going to go to Coinbase, buy the Bitcoin, put it in a wallet, leave it, right? The individual is not going to have the decision to then go, well, I now want to put that into Solana. I now want to put that into Dogecoin, right? Because BlackRock are going to say, we can't do that. We don't have regulatory clearance. This is just, whoa, motherfucker. Scared the life out of me. Fuck. So they're not going to have the all the kids are coming out with their little science parachutes. So they're not going to have. Let me pause this, and I'll get my train of thought back, because I think the car park's going to be swamped in a minute. Okay, those little smelly fuckers went back inside. So, so my thought process would be that they would then, the BlackRock or Fidelity or whoever are just going to say, we can't do that, okay? We only have regulatory clearance to do Bitcoin. This is a Bitcoin ETF. We can't move that into Solana or Doge or Cardano or anything like that. So these clients are not going to have the access to the crypto markets in the same way as people in the last bull markets were doing it themselves, right? That's how I see it. So I think there's just going to be a different dynamic this time. I do, and I struggle to see how that liquidity is going to find its way into other areas of the market if it's all flowing through this ETF, because I do think a lot of money is going to flow through these ETFs. I think, you know, a lot of people have been waiting a long time for this, and it's something BlackRock and Fidelity and these guys will push heavily. So we could see a dynamic where Bitcoin is seeing huge inflows into the market, but the rest of the space is not seeing huge inflows. The rest of the space is not seeing that abundance of liquidity that it would in the past, but Bitcoin is. So we might see this weird dynamic where Bitcoin dominance actually skyrockets, right, and goes on a bit of a parabolic run. Now you're going to see, you know, if Bitcoin starts going up, you'll see the space move, but it might not move with the same ferocity as Bitcoin. So that's just something that's been going around in my head. I do think that crypto looks a lot more bullish at the moment than the rest of the space, the rest of the global economy. That's just something that's been on my mind. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. I think, you know, there's obviously some other stuff we could talk about, but it is very hot in this car. I do kind of want to open this door, but then I'm conscious of the noise. You know, I think a lot of you know my positions in terms of, you know, what I'm holding, where I'm at. You know, obviously I've got a big position in Tau that actually went over 50% of my entire portfolio the other day. I bought some more. I've been buying more anyway, but I did some big buys over the space of 2 days. Yeah, Tau's now 50% of my entire portfolio. Which I feel very comfortable in. I feel like a lot of people are talking about Tau without even knowing about Tau, or Bittensor, I should say. A lot of people are essentially shilling the need for a decentralized, open, peer-to-peer neural network to combat, you know, the powerful few holding a centralized version, which can have ramifications in terms of bad actors. So a lot of people are shilling this. They just don't really know it yet, and that tells me there's a real need for this technology. So yeah, I've been increasing my Bittensor position anyway. It's something that I feel comfortable in, even if, you know, we see a 50-60% retracement from here. I don't really care, to be honest. I'll just hold, because I'm looking long term. I'm looking, you know, 5-10 years from here. So it took Bitcoin a long time to get recognition and for people to understand it. I feel like the same thing is going to be for Bittensor. And I view it the same way, to be honest. I view it the same way as if I would have viewed Bitcoin back in the day. I wasn't around then, but this feels as the closest thing to that, basically. So yeah, the other positions, Kaspa. You know, Kaspa's been on a hell of a run recently. I didn't take any profit on that pullback. Now we're back near all-time highs. Kaspa's a weird one because, like, technically, you know, we're seeing some weakness in the charts. You look at the RSI, you look at some weakest bearish divergences, but Kaspa's just been doing its own thing. It's been going against the entire market, and yeah, it's a weird one at the moment. I feel like, you know, lessening that exposure would be a smart thing to do after the run it's had. But yeah, that fucker just keeps running, man. So it's a difficult one. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing there, to be honest. Because again, I see Kaspa a lot higher. I'm not quite as bullish as I am on Tau, but I do think it has an interesting spot in crypto. It's doing some very impressive things in terms of its technology. It's being built, kind of solving a lot of the problems or issues that Bitcoin had. So yeah, Kaspa's a weird one. I can see it top 10, but then again, I can see Tau top 3. It doesn't mean it will happen. It's just, you know, what I believe. But then again, I've seen shitter projects higher that didn't go high either. So like, it doesn't mean I'm always right. So yeah, you know, I've got a big stable position. Stables probably take up a good percentage, not a good percentage, but a decent percentage of my portfolio. I'd say probably around 15-20% of my portfolio at the moment. And that's something that, you know, just because I believe we are going to see a bit of a retracement across the board, maybe, you know, the global economy, which I think will impact crypto in some way and risk assets. How much that is, I don't know, but I do think there is going to be an impact there, which means I want to have cash on hand to act on those low prices, because I will increase my exposure to a lot of these projects, and build positions in projects I'm not in yet, you know. So that's also something that I'm looking to do. So yeah, I would say they're probably my three biggest positions. Obviously there's Aleph up there as well. Quant is not a big part of my portfolio anymore. I took, you know, I ran Quant from under $1 up to, it went up to 420. I took large profits at 300. So I did very well there in terms of that move. But, you know, Quant's a smaller part of my portfolio now. I think that is just in, you know, in relation to where it is right now in the rankings. You know, we're talking like top 30. I do have still a sizable position that I believe will do very well if it does reach the valuations I think it can reach. But in terms of like my overall portfolio, it's not a big part of it anymore. But it's still a sizable amount. So, you know, I would be very happy if we start reaching those $1,000 valuations that I think it could reach. And, you know, I said my piece on the whole quant chain link bullshit situation where people are just slinging shit at each other for no reason. There's a space for both projects. But a lot of companies, a lot of governments, a lot of institutions are going to have different needs. They're not going to be all on one boat. You know, some companies are going to say, we want a more, I guess, decentralized version. And then someone else is going to say, we want a more centralized version. It's just the way it's going to be. So there's going to be different fits for different companies. So there's space for both. But stop arguing, man. It's dumb. So yeah, I think that's it. I'm really hot. I'm going to get out of this car. I need to get some air. So I hope you guys are okay. You know, this bear markets, they can be brutal. I think the thing with bear markets is the time it takes for them to play out, and you know, the market can be irrational for longer than you can be solvent. So I just hope that everyone is controlling their emotions and they're, you know, trying to survive, because I think if you can survive the bear market, the hardest bits are done. But the time is the thing that kills most people. And I think time and the patience needed to work your way through the bear market to get to the bull market or the bull cycle is something that a lot of people don't, they kind of take for granted. The time kills you, man. And you've seen it recently, you know, everything in the space has been quite boring. But go outside, find something else to do, you know, enjoy your life. Crypto is always going to be here. But I hope everyone's just doing okay and surviving. If not, then, you know, I hope things work out for you, man. Can't talk to everyone, can't help everyone, but I try my best. Even though people think I'm just a shilling monster who takes deals and, you know, gets paid to shill shit. You know, I actually do try my best to help people, educate people, and to give them a better mindset for investing, trading, and dealing with shit. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to jump off. I hope you're all right, and I'll speak to you in the next one. That's the Bongo Ramble done. And bye-bye. Go away now. Bye. Love you.